hop onto the shuttle bus this week as we discuss part 3 of our Of June discussion. We are your hosts, Faith and Sapph. Welcome to the Shuttle Bus Podcast. Good evening and welcome to the Shuttle Bus this week as we continue our discussion of June. This week we'll be discussing The Airway, Fuzzy Blue Lights, and Hello Seattle. I'm your host, Faith, here with my wonderful co-host, Sapph.
Hi, Faith.
Hey, Sapph, would you like to kick off our kick off our discussion on The Airway, which is the first song on tonight's list? Just
Yeah,
gotta start off with some type of mess up, right?
it's fine. It's fine. It just adds to the comedy of this episode, as we always like to laugh here. So it's fine. We got this. We got this. Yeah, absolutely. So, oh man, the Airway is for me. I have a couple of different favorites from Of June, but it's definitely pretty high up there. But I would say that the first point I'll make is it's kind of hard to focus on the backing track in comparison to the lyrics because everything is so simple. Like, Of June as a whole, everything is so simple, and we've discussed that quite a lot over the last few episodes. I know it's because, Adam was just starting and he was putting out something. Like, this is back to his MySpace days. But at the same
Yeah.
time, it's his lyrics are so much more whimsical, and it's really easy to kind of get swept away with those lyrics instead of really like looking at the production value. I'm gonna try to look at the production value a little bit more this time, but I have to say a lot of my points are mostly about the lyrics.
I mean the lyrics are great. I will say, because I've been really focusing on the backing track for most of my points for the past couple of episodes, but I have another thing that I keep bringing up is the auto tune, and I don't know how to explain it. I am in love with the auto tune on this whole EP. It just there's something about it. It is a combination of the super electronic like processed sound of his voice mixed with his soft spokenness. It just makes it like a magical sound. Like you have the soft spoken, you know, voice. He has a soft spoken voice mixed with a super electronic auto tune, and it makes it. That is probably one of my favorite parts, like of the Airway, as we are discussing that, but also just of June in general. I love the auto tune, as if I haven't already mentioned it enough.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can't really get away from the auto tune because of the production quality and how early it was in his career. And I would say that he definitely does that well. It's noticeable, but it's just enough. So I think he did pretty well. And I know in his older stuff he doesn't really need that anymore. So that's cool. But it doesn't bother me, and I think he uses it well. So my next point, shocker, is about lyrics. uh, so I dream of you floating high above me. I think that's the line. I can't quite remember. I think that's right though. It's
Yeah, I
foreshadowing
think
to
so.
later on in the song, which is kind of cool because
Oh.
later on, I really should have the lyrics in front of me. I don't. But he talks about I'm prepared for this. Um he talks about something to do with uh like I wish I could stay up there with you. So like she's up in the clouds floating there, and he says like I wish I could stay with you, and that's kind of the vibe that I get. So it's almost foreshadowing. I can't remember the lyric exactly, but I hope I'm making sense. So anyways,
Oh yeah, that makes sense though, cause I just yeah, I know what lyric you're talking about. I can't remember exactly how it was phrased either, but I think you're pretty close. But it's funny because I had a similar point, which was about the lyrics. Um, but it's about like the lyrics as a whole because if I start pulling out favorite lyrics, I'm gonna just write the whole song. Um, but it's about how it's a love song, but like I don't know. It can be interpreted in different ways with like that kind of floating away imagery that he uses throughout the song. It's like is it a love song about like love that's like just out of reach that somebody he wants to be with but he can't for some reason or he's like too shy or nervous to ask, or is it like somebody that he loved that he lost, maybe it was a breakup or maybe the person like died or something, but like is it a lost love or a love that's just out of reach? Like I don't know. I was thinking about that earlier about it's he does a lot of those love songs, but it's like a love that's like just out of reach.
So I'm gonna this is not on my point list, but kind of bringing in what you were just talking about. He has a lyric in there that says, "I watch you held aloft out of my reach, but I cannot take flight." Um, and it goes on to talk about like he can't fly, but obviously she can. She's far above. She's in the sky. So I think you're onto something when you say that it's probably like he's too shy, or like there's some sort of like maybe it's long distance and she only comes
Yeah.
for like so many like times a year. I think it's probably more of like I'm too shy, but I like playing around with the lyrics and digging deeper,
Yeah.
if you will,
Yeah. It's
digging
it's a
deeper.
lot of fun.
um
It's a lot of fun.
You sail through the endless sky with the evening around you. I'm kind of with you on this whole thing about the lyrics because they're all so pretty. So I just want to write the whole song, but I'll just highlight a couple more. So there's that one, and then there's before the morning rays. Oh, excuse me, before the rays of morning paint the front lawn. I
That
just
was such a good line.
I just think like this girl is just literally so gorgeous that her light just infects everything around it. So you go Adam, like you tell any girl like if you were to sing this to any girl and you like are obviously making it clear that this is about her, you sir have got your date secured. Like
I mean,
good job
yes.
confessing your love, man.
I mean, yeah. Yeah. I mean, yes. Like what after that than just agreement.
What's your next point? You don't have to like add to it. You can just like sail on through. You can sail through the evening sky around you.
I just try to I always don't want to make it like I'm just rushing through your point. I want to make it seem like I was actually listening and at like at a point that made it like I'm actually listening and not feel like I'm just rushing through it so I can get to what I want to say.
No,
So like I try to add
oh
something, but like sometimes I don't have anything because you said it just right. And I'm like, okay, I can move on to my point, but I don't want to seem like I'm ignoring the point you just made.
I have been there so many times. You have no idea. It's so hard. It's so hard. The podcasters lament. Podcasters lament.
Yes. But yes,
But
I agree with you. He has, you know, the power to win people over his music. But so going on because it's the airway, so this makes sense. There's a lot of floating imagery because it's the airway. I guess that makes sense. But it's just the song itself has a very airy feel to it. I don't know how to explain it other than that, which is very perfect and fits perfectly because it's called the airway. Um, it's not a very big point. It's just a minor thing I was thinking about, and you know, I don't have much to add to it other than it just has a very floating, airy kind of feel to it.
no, absolutely. I know exactly the feeling you're talking about. It feels fluffy. It feels
Yes.
it feels fluffy and soft, and like the whole weight of the world has melted away and you don't have to do anything. You can just sit there in peace and tranquility enjoying the song, you know. I feel like
Yes.
there's another song coming up. Um for me, that's what it feels like, definitely. But you know, that's another song that I can't break into, and I have one more point. But yeah, no, I totally understand what you mean. Like these songs just make you feel a certain way, even though it makes no sense.
They
it's
just they give off the vibes.
it's he did very well with the imagery and the like sound. Uh, there's a word for it, sound engineering, I think, except that's mostly for
Possibly.
movies, but like that would be the sort of idea that I want to give. So he did well with
Yes.
the sound engineering of what you feel. So, but yeah, my last point on this song, I love the alternating on and off bass line. um
Ooh.
so I don't it's really hard cuz he has like almost like a bridge in between lyrics, and then he has the chorus, and then he has another bridge. It's somewhere between the chorus and the bridge. It like
Okay.
basically maps out the how do I say it? Basically maps out like a secondary melody from the lyrics.
Ooh.
And it's so nice. It's nice on the ears for sure. So it's ear candy.
Yes. I'll have to go back and listen to it later and see if I can like notice what you're talking about because I love the little hidden sounds that just like add a little extra pop. But yes, my one of my favorite parts of the song was like the ending of it. The instrumental of the ending was just extra good. It gave it that extra fluffy feel. that
Ooh,
was that was my favorite part,
yeah.
I think.
Yes. I love that. I love that. He has so on a bunch of the Of June songs, and I feel like he continues
He
that.
does.
He has like this extra little instrumental at the end, or at the beginning
Mhm.
if you're like Panda Bear. But you know,
Yeah.
it's a little extra something something for your ears to really just enjoy. So there you go. Um okay, Fuzzy Blue Lights. This is my favorite one, and it's probably been the one that I've been looking forward to the most on Of June. I love Captains and Cruise Ships, but Fuzzy Blue Lights is my favorite. um
Ooh.
okay, it is so relaxing, and I love how relaxing it is. It's just so peaceful, and it's absolutely a joy to listen to. And this was the song that I was saying, like, oh yeah, I feel like I could just lay here and listen to this song and not have to do anything, not have to worry anything. I just listen to this song, and it just it's peaceful.
I agree. It's funny because I hadn't really thought through like which song on of June was my like favorite. When I was listening to Fuzzy Blue Lights, I was sitting there thinking, I think this one actually might be my favorite on of June. It's just so perfect, and that opening bit it's so beautiful, and it's like just so calming and soothing. You just want to like lay there and relax and listen to it and like fall asleep. It's wonderful. I love it.
Is it weird that as we talk about these, I mean, this is not on my list, but I'm just gonna put this out there, see if you have this issue, because I have trouble like knowing which parts of the songs are which when listening
Yes.
and like actually talking about the stuff. It's almost like I can't hear it. Normally, any time of the day, I can hear the song. I can pinpoint what I'm talking about and thinking about. But while we're on the recording, I can't hear any other audio than our voices. Like in my head,
Yeah.
I cannot vocalize it in my head at all.
I'm so good at visualizing sounds all the time, but it's like it doesn't come to me when we're recording, and it's so
Exactly.
annoying because you'll try to reference a point. I'm like, yes, but I also at the same time don't really remember what Fuzzy Blue Lights actually sounds like. I just
Exactly.
remember the vibes.
I don't understand why I can't like bring that up from my memory. Um,
I know. I can remember the songs and the sounds any other time, except for when we're
yeah,
recording.
yeah. Green scenic sublime. Green scenic sublime. Number one, sublime is
That's an
not
interesting.
something you hear every day. It's not like a casually used word, but I do love sublime. Um, you could say it's sublime, but it just rolls off the tongue so nicely, and I really like that line about of June, so or about
I,
fuzzy blue lights, about of June,
yeah.
about fuzzy blue lights.
It is interesting because I was that one really stuck out to me just for the sake that he sings like the cadence and the way he lowers his voice when he gets to that lyric is like completely different than the way he sings the rest of the song, and it really just makes it stick out. So that is funny. I didn't write any notes about that because I wasn't really sure how to put it into words, but I was thinking about that lyric. Like that lyric really stuck out to me when I was listening to the song.
It's almost like it's super deep. Like he really goes way down in the vocal change instead of like
Yes,
keeping complete flatness with the rest of the vocals.
I know.
So it's like it kind of like it goes really deep, and then you're like back up to the next
The
verse, and it's
normal.
like, oh, that I don't
Like
know, it kind of tickles your brain a little bit. But
it
that's all I'll
does
say
really.
on that. Go ahead.
I just found it interesting that we were thinking about the same part. I've noticed a trend lately that we have very similar notes lately, um, or
I
it's
think it might be of June. Of June is giving us same brain, which I mean, I'm not gonna argue with because it makes it really easy for both of us to kind of flow. But
yes,
yeah,
and it's funny. It's usually that we don't have the same notes, but it's you say something and I'm like, oh yeah, I was thinking about that, and then I'll say something and you're like, oh yeah, I was gonna put that on my notes and I didn't. It's like the other person puts the things in their notes that we were going to, but we didn't.
I know,
So we just
right?
end up covering it
Exactly.
all.
Like we're thinking the same thing, but we didn't do the same thing. This time we are doing the same thing.
Right. uh, but so I do love the green scenic sublime lyric. That was fun just because it kind of like sticks out, which is fun. But one of the things that I really like about Fuzzy Blue Lights it's is the drums. They aren't super complicated or impressive. They're pretty simple drums, but I just really like the drums and they're like clicky kind of drums. And I like that. I like clicky drums. And so I just enjoy hearing drums in his songs. I don't know why. As I said, they're not super impressive. They're not super complicated or anything. They're just it's a pretty simple drum beat, but it's kind of clicky and it just kind of fits really well with the song. And I really enjoy hearing clicky drums. I don't know. I just like drums.
Hey, hey, there's nothing wrong with liking drums. I also like drums, and I like the pattern they add to the to the song. You know,
Yes.
it makes it pop. So yeah, absolutely. I the only thing I can think of when you say clicky drums is tic tac, tic tac, tic tac. But
uh,
yeah, no, I understand what you mean. Like it gives a good rhythm to it, and it's kind of like a snap that it needs. It needs a little bit
yeah.
of like pizzazz, and the drum does just that. So,
Pizzazz.
and it's not too much out of the realm of what the song is. So it's not. It doesn't lose its relaxing vibe. It just needed a little bit of something. So he did really well
Yes.
with that.
There's a
Um,
perfect balance.
yeah, it's a balancing act. It's a balancing act, and he did really well on that. So, um, as the name suggests, Fuzzy Blue Lights, I think Adam did a really good job, and we are just talking about this, making the backing track feel fuzzy. It feels fuzzy. I don't know how to say it. It's like airy for the airway, but it feels fuzzy. And it feels familiar. It's just like almost like something, maybe a song that your grandparent would sing to you or your mother would sing to you as you're trying to sleep. that is the vibe that it encapsulates for me, even though it's not something that I actually like listened to a long time ago. I actually just started listening to it sometime last year, probably about a year ago now, and because I didn't like dig into Of June until sometime last year, and you know, last episode was the first time I heard Designer Skyline, so uh you know, but it feels familiar and it feels warm and inviting. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yes, it really like I didn't really think about it, but now that you say that, it really does give you like this almost like deja vu vibe.
Yeah, deja vu. That's a good word for it.
It really because it's just I don't know. It just so kind of piggybacking off of your point. My next point was the fact that it has a lullaby vibe to it, which I think might be where the deja vu ness comes from because it feels like a lullaby that's like been around for years that like you were saying like your parents or your grandparents would sing to you. So I think maybe that's where it comes from is because it sounds like a lullaby and we assume that lullabies like in our mind if it's a lullaby it's been around for years and generations. So that's interesting how we both kind of had that like feel from the song. But yeah, I agree. It does feel familiar in a way that it probably shouldn't because it's not like it's an old song. I mean, it's, you know,
2007.
oldish.
So it's I mean
Yeah, it's
we're both just
2007.
barely older than it. So
Right.
it's not something that we would have. It wouldn't be a lullaby for us, but it feels like it. It gives the feel. So that's kind of cool. I like that we got the same conclusion out of that. It just like it feels good, you know. Feels
Yes.
really good. um but I love the piano. The like you know like that
Yeah.
little bit that he kind of has just kind of looping through the song, and it's a nice little touch of spice that it needed, you know, sort of like the drums, but not too much, just enough to highlight certain portions, and I think he did that really well. But that's my last point. So
Yes, he did it all. He put it all together very well. I just it is very soothing, and I will say, because like I was saying earlier, I think Fuzzy Blue Lights is probably my favorite off of the EP, and it of all the songs of the album, it probably has some of the best lyrics, maybe some of the best lyrics of Owl City songs in general. But it just, as I said, if I had to go through and like pick my favorite lyrics, I would be writing out the whole song because they are just so good. I don't even like know how to begin with which lyrics are my favorite. They're all very good. And it you know, as I said, I could tell you a lyric or you could like go and like, oh well, what about this lyric? I'm like, yes, that lyric is good. That was probably one of the ones I was thinking about, but also this lyric too, because they're all very good lyrics.
all of the lyrics. That's the correct answer. All of them.
Yes.
Absolutely all of
Which
them.
one's your favorite? Yes.
Yes, just yes. Um okay, so are we good to move to Hello Seattle?
I would believe so.
All right. So it's a little underwhelming for me, which is kind of sad. I love the current version of Hello Seattle that stands on Ocean Eyes. This one's
Mhm.
a little bland. It's has no layered drums or like the
Mm.
whirring slash whirling backing synth.
Oh,
It comes up like right at the chorus or something, and
yeah,
it
you're
goes
right. I
like
didn't even
it.
notice that.
I can't remember, like I don't know what you'd call it, but I know it's a synth, and it's like right at the chorus, and it kind of loses its luster because of that. Um, but hey, it's a really strong song to start with. It you know, it's not a wonder that it made it onto one of his older albums. So
Mhm. It's funny that you say that because that was also my first point, or something very similar was also my first point for Hello Seattle was I do think I do enjoy the Of June Hello Seattle. it's cool. It's cool to hear the early Hello Seattle, and we have various songs throughout of June and Maybe I'm Dreaming that made it to later albums like Ocean Eyes, and they are like the Ocean Eye versions of those songs tend to be a little bit different, but they're very similar to the original. Like On the Wing and Saltwater Room, they are different than the Maybe I'm Dreaming versions, but they're similar. You know, there's just a couple changes here and there for those songs, but Hello Seattle is from Of June, and then it got later put onto Ocean Eyes, and those two versions are like really different compared to other like the two versions of Saltwater Room and the two versions of On the Wing. So like there's a big difference between the Of June Hello Seattle and the Of June Ocean Eyes, like very noticeable. And it is cool to go and like listen to like the early version of Hello Seattle and like see what his original vision for it was. Um and then it's cool to kind of like see him tweak that and like make it something even grander than it was on Of June when we listened to it on Ocean Eyes. So I really prefer the Ocean Eyes version. I just unfortunately the Of June one is kind of like you said, kind of lackluster. I think that's what you said. I don't remember now.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, you got it.
but it is cool to listen to it, but it's not as good as the Ocean Eyes. It is lackluster, but it is cool to kind of have this early, simple, stripped down version of Hello Seattle.
Yeah, yeah, no, I get that, and it's kind of sad that it has to be compared to the newer version because it's so well known rather than just stand alone like some of these other songs. But it really does show us that Adam has built up his skill over time, kind of like the auto tune thing. Like he's gotten better at using it. He's upgraded, and he gets better and better every time he makes a song about like adding more spice, but not too much to make it highlight in certain things. Spice, that's the only thing I can think of, like to spice things up. I can't think of any other word to use for that. But yeah, no, it kind of feels sad to me, but it made it onto another album. I prefer Ocean Eyes a lot better. You mentioned like Maybe I'm Dreaming and all that in like the version of Saltwater Room and everything. I think it's kind of cool to have like alternate versions. So I kind of wish he had a little more alternate maybe for Hello Seattle in terms of like lyrics and things, or if he had like a different chord structure or whatever. I think it would be interesting to see how it could change. But, this is what we got.
Oh yeah, I agree. It is a little sad that like when we have two versions of the same song, it's gonna get compared. Like we can't really avoid it. It's just what happens. Um, but it is a little sad that I feel like the Upjohn Hello Seattle has the potential to be great, like pretty good and like well enjoyed without if it didn't have to be so compared to like the Ocean Eyes Hello Seattle. Because I know I personally struggle to like really just enjoy the Upjohn Hello Seattle for what it is because I'm constantly like without even really thinking about it, comparing it to the Ocean Eyes version. But kind of like you were saying, I think the change from the Of June Hello Seattle and the Ocean Eyes Hello Seattle is a perfect example of how his style changed between these two eras. Like it's a perfect we have like such a perfect example and like showcase of how his skill and style changed over a couple of years of like consistently doing music. And it is pretty cool to have that. Like, oh, his like in my mind, like the way I think about it is I almost suspect that the Ocean Eyes Hello Seattle was actually what he envisioned, but the Of June Hello Seattle was his current skill set. Maybe that's just kind of like my theory to it. And so when he had a chance to remake the Hello Seattle for Ocean Eyes, he kind of went with he like took his newfound skills and like made it kind of maybe closer to what he was thinking. I don't know. That could be completely wrong. He could have just like made the of June Hello Seattle the one way, and he decided, oh, this song would also fit on Ocean Eyes, but if I changed it a little bit, that would be cool to have like two different versions. I don't know. But my theory is that the of June was like his current skill set, but the Ocean Eyes version was like his actual vision for the song.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've heard the I would say, well, I was going to say the original. This is the original. It had been a while since I'd heard the original until today, of course. But and I really do enjoy the polished version a lot better. I agree with you that this was probably like his skill set at the time, and this is what he envisioned. And it's probably the whole reason that he actually brought it back. And I was really looking forward to comparing the two. So I like it, and I agree that like it's hard and like it's really difficult coming from the Ocean Eyes version first. um it's really difficult to separate the two and enjoy one for what it's worth. And honestly, I feel like it definitely doesn't belong on Of June. Even as its current state, it fits Ocean Eyes a lot better. But, I'm glad that we have this comparison. Um, and I
Mhm.
guess the last thing I'm gonna say, like, really about Hello Seattle, this version, is that I really like the strings. It had a little bit of pizzazz, a little more pizzazz. I think it was somewhere around the bridge. He brought in a little bit of strings, and that kind of helped. And of course, that shines through in the newer version. But it was pretty simple, and he did a good job.
Yeah. I will say, as much as we've been kind of sitting here comparing the of June version to the Ocean Eyes version and kind of saying that we prefer the Ocean Eyes and the Ocean Eyes is, kind of better. I will say the one thing that or one of the things that the of June version has kind of going for it is that 8-bit sound, which is pretty cool. It adds this kind of extra layer. Comparing the two, if you were to not know that like the of June version was first and the Ocean Eyes came later, I would almost guess that like the of June version was just like a remix that was supposed to be like a more simplified like 8-bit sound remix, cuz like I don't know. It just the sounds are so different. Like I don't know how to explain it, but the one cool thing about the of June, or one of the cool things about of June version, is the 8-bit sound it kind of has going for it. And then I guess I don't know, my last kind of point for Hello Seattle in general is for both versions really is one of my favorite parts. Get a little highlight of Hello Seattle. One of my favorite parts of Hello Seattle is what has always been the Hello Seattle I am an albatross. I don't know what it is about that lyric, but it has always been my favorite off of both versions. Like I don't care which version I'm listening to, that is always my favorite version. But I feel like it might stick out a little bit more on the of June version. If I'm remembering correctly, I think it's in the Ocean Eyes version. Maybe I'm misremembering that, but it's
No, it
definitely in the
is.
of June version, and it is definitely my favorite part.
It's in
I
both of
haven't
them.
listened. Okay, that's what I thought, but then I was saying like maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it wasn't.
No.
It's been a minute since I've listened to the Ocean Eyes version, but I do know it's in the of June version, obviously, because I listened to that recently, and it just has always been my favorite part. That albatross part, I like it. I don't know why. It's kind of like the green scenics or the scenic green scenic sublime whatever. There's just something about that lyric. It just catches your ear, and it's kind of interesting how he says it, and it just kind of scratches your ear, and then I kind of like it.
Would you like to be an albatross on the dock?
Possibly. Albatrosses kind of scare me. They always look very angry. Seagulls look dumb and happy. Albatrosses look kind of angry.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I also think that, barges look really angry. Um they look weird to me, but you know they
Oh,
carry a lot of stuff.
yes,
While
this
we're
is
on the
true.
subject of ocean and docks and shipping
Yes,
things and uh
anger,
anger.
anger and fear.
ah um no, absolutely. I get that. That's definitely a really good line, and it feels nice. Is there's so
Yes,
many lines I could point out just in general from this
yeah,
from all of Adam's music. Let me just say all of Adam's music that just feel
yes,
good and they make me happy. Um, I think
yes,
overall that we've I know we discussed continuity and compared how a few albums have changed. Which I know that was mostly last episode, but we talked about that this time too. I would say like of June overall does pretty good with continuity between each album but between each song, not between each album. It's a
yeah,
lot different. But I think it does pretty good. It's simple and it's melodic, and that's kind of my closing thoughts
yeah.
for the EP of June.
Yes, I think I don't have much to add to that. It is, it's pretty, as I said, as we discussed already over the past couple of episodes, there is a continuity to it where they just, I don't know, they just match. And I do enjoy hearing this more simple version. Like, I feel like Adam is kind of known for having like super layered music and like just super all these little sounds that he adds in here and there just to add this like super complicated and layered backing track. And it's nice to kind of have a more like simplified version of the Owl City music that we're used to. But with that, what going to kind of go through and rank the songs, kind of like I guess we have been, because I guess that's something we're doing now. Um,
Ah, yes,
what
I
would you
forgot about that.
rank the Airway 1 out of 10,
Man, the
or 0
Airway.
out of 10 if you really don't like it?
Well, I do like it. So that's, I'm sorry, that's reserved for Panda Bear. Um, but I really liked the Airway. It made me really happy. I would probably give it like a solid 8.5 out of 10. That's what
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I was gonna give it like an 8 out of 10. So I agree. I think we're both on the same page for that one.
same
What would
page.
you give Fuzzy Blue Lights?
Hmm.
0 out of 10.
I would do it a 9.5. It is. Ah, it is green scenic sublime.
It is like perfect. That's funny that yeah, that's funny that you rank it a 9 out of 5, because I was gonna give it a similar ranking, which like I was gonna give it 10 out of 10, but I'm slightly scared of giving it a 10 out of 10 because I don't want it to like I don't know if I want to give it a 10 out of 10, because I feel like if I give it a 10 out of 10, that's gonna mean like it's one of my favorite songs and I really do like it, but I don't know if it falls into like my handful of like absolute favorite Owl City songs. But like 10 out of 10 feels right. But maybe I should also go with the 9 out of 5. We're somewhere between that 9 to 10 out of 10. I'm just gonna say that.
I mean, it could just mean that it's not necessarily your favorite in general, but from of June, then it could be your favorite if you wanted to list it that high.
That is true. I could give it a 10 out of 10 out of like of June. Because that's how I'm kind of tackling this. I am not tackling this as my greater scheme of all the Owl City songs. I'm purely ranking these for of June. So 10 out of 10 for of June songs in general. That might be the way I go about this.
That's the way I'm hitting it. So you go, girl.
So what would you for the last song on this lovely EP, what would you give Hello Seattle a ranking 0 out of 10?
I unfortunately would give it a 7.5 because the thing is, it's not the version I'm going to reach for when I'm listening to music. If I'm going for Hello Seattle, I'm either A, going to the polished version on Ocean Eyes, or B, I'm going to the remix version on Ocean Eyes because to
Ooh,
me, those are
yeah.
just superior.
Yeah, after you're giving it a 7.5 out of 10, and now I feel bad for my ranking because I'm gonna give it like a 3 or 4 out of 10. It's it's okay. I I feel like I don't remember what I gave Panda Bear. I feel like I gave Panda Bear the same rating, and so I feel like I should maybe bump it up to like a 4 out of 5 because it is better than Panda Bear, but it's not my favorite, especially when we do have the oceanized version to compare it to. I'm always most likely gonna listen to the oceanized version first,
It's
and so I feel bad for the of June version, but it's okay.
it's
It's enjoyable to
ever.
listen to, but I don't think I could listen to it on repeat.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's ever so slightly better than Panda Bear, but not but very, to be honest. I might move mine down to like a 6, maybe, because
Yeah.
I mean, at least it made a headliner on another album, you know.
Right.
So, but
And it,
I don't
yes.
know. I don't know.
To be fair, all this ranking is very like arbitrary. It's it's just numbers. Numbers thrown at a board based on vibes.
Based on vibes. How's your math calculated? Based on vibes.
That's how I math.
This is what I
So,
call musician math. I
yes.
disclaimer, I do not speak for every musician in the world. I don't. This is just this
It
is
is.
a wannabe here.
This is this is what we call shuttle bus math.
Oh, it's Shell Bus Mad. Let's go. Let's go.
So using shuttle bus math, how would you rank the entirety of June? Like give the whole EP a single number rating.
I'm thinking like a 7.5. Not like super high, but not low, because of course, it needs to be respected as one of his earlier works, but it's also need to take it at face value. It's not amazing, but it's not terrible either. There's a couple songs that I would take off of it and I would listen to.
Yeah, I agree. I was also gonna give it a 7.5 out of 10 because it is not his greatest work because I mean it's his earlier stuff, so it's not quite the production value of his later stuff. It's very simple, but there is like something enjoyable about the simplicity, but it's not quite super high ranking, but it's not as low as I originally thought it was going to be. Like going into this, I thought of June would probably rank pretty low for me, but I have thoroughly enjoyed these past 3 episodes of ranking or of discussing of June because I just forgot how enjoyable of an EP it was, and I have like thoroughly enjoyed getting to like re-listen to it, especially since it was some of the music I listened to early on when I started listening to Owl City music. So it's also been like kind of nostalgic and fun to go back and listen to some of his older music.
Yeah, I'm gonna say something similar, because it's good to go back and actually put an emphasis on these songs, which is not something that I do every day all the time, because normally the go-to is something newer. Um, so it feels good, like what you were saying, like something I listened to during my childhood. Just like take it back to a slower pace, and it feels like nostalgia. Thank you so much for joining us for the 13th episode of Shuttle Bus Podcast. Don't forget, you can follow us on Instagram at shuttlebus_podcast for more Owl City related content. Right along with us next episode as we discuss Maybe I'm Dreaming, and more specifically On the Wing, Rainbow Veins, and Super Lunar Honeymoon. For now, this is Sapph
And Faith,
saying goodbye. Goodbye,
bye.
viewers.
Bye, everybody. We'll see you next time.